Welcome everybody. A webcast of this meeting will be published at Council's website at www.liverpoolplains.newsouthwales.gov.au so that it is available for viewing by members of the public. Acknowledgement of country and Council Chair, Councillor Green.
Today we gather on the land of the Eleroi Nation. We therefore need to acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians of this land. We also pay our respects to the Aboriginal elders, both past and present, and further extend that they respect to other adults who have joined us today. Council prayer. Lord, we ask that you watch over this council, guide us in our deliberations and decisions for the betterment of all the people of our Shire and Australia. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wynne. Apologies and applications for leave of absence by councillors. We have one leave of absence from Councillor Kerry Cohen. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cudmore, seconded Councillor Allen. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cudmore?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
If not, if there's no one else wishing to speak for or against the motion, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Disclosures of interests. Neil? Sorry.
I'll declare a non-pecuniary interest in 4.1 as I'm a farmer from the Liverpool Plains.
Thanks, Councillor Cudmore. That's noted. Councillor Cudmore's noted.
Still voting.
Item 4.1, Development Application Amendment 2020/102-129 Railway Parade, Werris Creek, Crawford Freight Lines extensions of operating hours and installation of grain processing infrastructure. Recommendation that Council 1 approve Development Application Amendment 2020/1/2 on part lot 41 DP 1126436, lots 22, 23 and 43 DP 8788, known as 129 Railway Parade, Werris Creek, as per the condition schedule attached to this report. 2, give the General Manager delegation to A, consult with the New South Wales Environment Protection Agency as per their request to ensure there are complementary conditions between the Council, endorse the condition schedule and issue general terms of approval, and B, make minor wording changes to the Council endorsed condition schedule as per any request of the New South Wales Environment Protection Agency, maintaining the intention of the conditions. Do I have a mover? Councillor Wynne, a seconder. Councillor Cudmore, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Wynne?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion?
I'll just ask for a
Councillor
clarification.
Lawson.
Just want to ask for a clarification, first of all, on the wording of 2A, where it says consult with the New South Wales Environment Protection Agency as per their request to ensure there are complementary conditions between the Council, endorse the condition schedule and the issued general terms of approval. Is that simply just that the word the between endorsed and condition should be deleted? It just doesn't read quite right. So it should be between the Council endorsed condition schedule and the issued general terms of approval.
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, yes, Councillor Wilson, apologies, that's a typo there we missed, unfortunately.
Councillor Knowles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be supporting this. However, I wanted to bring a couple of things forward that I'd like some explanation. Page 7, there's 2 parallel development consents in place, and I'm not real sure it's saying it's not ideal, so I'm wondering why that is happening. Why we have two development consents and should really be one, and then this one should supersede them. I'd also like to reiterate, I do have concerns over the grain processing in the middle of the town, but I'm confident from listening to what's been said today that they're prepared to work, even with the person that's spoken against this, to work with them for the townspeople and try to right the wrongs that they feel have been done, and I think that's really important to get that community consultation going. And the other thing, Mr Mayor, was the 49 submissions. It seems there are a lot of submissions that are coming, 3 of support and 38 against. I'd like to know if they were 38 separate objectives with separate letters, or was it a, whatever they call it, a letter that's been written out and then just signed by 48 people? So that's basically what I wanted to say, Mr Mayor, but I believe as a councillor I must support this development application. Otherwise I believe it would be a restriction of trade. So as unpopular as I may be, I will have to support it. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
General Manager?
Through you, Mr Mayor. So regarding the 2 consents, it isn't ideal. It does make the enforcement of the site and understanding of what is permissible a challenge, because you have to read both consents and there is overriding conditions in D8 1 of 2020 that override the conditions of D8 37 of 2018. Regrettably, it's the situation we're in, so when the applicant puts in an application, they can choose to modify an existing one, or they can put in a new application. In the past, they've chosen to put a new application in. Certainly, we've been trying to work with Crawfords to identify the fact that this is something that we'd like to bring in under one consent, but that's not the option that we have ahead of us today. So that's ideally we would have a singular consent. Regarding the submissions, there was a number of pro forma letters. So whilst we did get 49 total submissions, 41 by the closing period, there were a number that appeared to be pro formas, but we did summarise all the concerns that were raised through those submissions within the report.
Thank you, Mr Skirling.
Any other councillors wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Lawson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. All of those submissions were grouped and detailed. All of those were summarised and sent to the applicant. They responded to those. So there was quite a bit of detail around those submissions. There were quite a number of the same letter sent in. However, I don't think that in itself negates what's in the letter. Some people might get a letter writing parts. However, I do know that even though the 41 submissions that were taken in, that does represent around 2.8% of the population of Werris Creek. There's been, I think it's been well publicised, and I've taken it upon myself to speak to a couple of business owners that didn't make submissions. Often people that are in favour of things or indifferent don't make submissions, so that's why I also talked to other people that didn't, and their feeling was that they were somewhat affected by the dust, but they weren't against the operation in itself. So I'd like to see Crawfords continue to try and reduce their dust. I'm pretty confident with the conditions of consent by the EPA that are on this particular DA that they have to have an adequate dust capture system for the grain handling. So that has been put in there as a condition of consent. As far as the other dust from the site itself, I think they need to continue to improve that situation, and Andrew has said to us today that they are continuing to try and improve that. It's not ideal when you get drought conditions and winds. it certainly isn't ideal, but I think that they are trying to handle it the best that they can. We are dealing with a situation where we've got an industrial site very close to a township, and unfortunately it's not going to be perfect.
Thanks, Councillor Lawson. If there's no other speakers, I'll put the motion. Oh, sorry, Councillor Allen. Councillor Clayton.
We're just listening to both applicants today, and thank you to Mr. Maher, and also thank you to the Crawford's representatives, and also to the GrainCorp representative that came along, and the other farmers that came along to support Crawford's application. I think I too will be supporting it, because I believe this is from the moment I stepped onto the council, I believe that we should be looking forward to growing the Liverpool Plains and making the Liverpool Plains more accessible, and also allowing it to grow with any business that wants to grow it. So I see this as, although it has a few minor setbacks, that will take Crawford's word and that they will continue to grow, and also try to fix up any of the complaints that are happening. And also just listening to the GrainCorp one was a good one for me, that they've invested into the business too. So you've got local businesses that are willing to invest into the overall business, which is a good thing. I don't see it as a bad thing. And on top of that, we've got the farmers that are working and don't have to travel long distances. So it's an overall win for the Liverpool Plains going forward. Thank you.
Councillor Clayton.
Yeah, I would say with Councillor Allen, I think I feel sorry for Chris and the residents that of Werribee Creek that feel that it's making the living conditions tougher in Werribee Creek. But I think overall, hopefully in the long term, I think Peter Crawford is put his neck out there on the line to build a business in a small community. He could have gone anywhere else, but he chose Werribee Creek, and I think in the long term, and that's not going to be in the next 12 months or probably 2 years, but long term, hopefully, that Crawford's and whoever else wants to go in there, because he's the first that's gone in there when we get the southern access precinct up and running, and the whole thing becomes shaped as we all look. Hopefully it'll be in the next 12 to 18 months that it'll make it better for the residents then. But I think I take my hat off to Crawford to do what they are doing for the community, and they are governed by exports from China, they're logging and grain and everything else, like every other market. But they could have just stayed in Tamworth and stuck with Kew and done whatever else, but they're going to go and fight for their share of the market on the railway, and that wouldn't be that easy, trying to go down that track anyway, trying to get space on the railway. And if the inland rail goes ahead, which I hope some politician decides that's the way it's going to go, if it ever gets completed, I think it'll Werribee Creek will turn into something special in the long term. So it might be one of those things where it's a little bit of pain to have on a go. And and the EPA just about run the show, so they're governed by a fair bit. I know you think that they haven't followed the restrictions on their DA before, but some of that's to do with the council, with Southern Access Precinct and all the rest of it. So if we can all work together, which includes the township, the council and Crawford, so I think we can turn it into something special. And I'll be voting for it. Thank you.
If there's no other speakers for or against the motion, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? I'll declare that carried. Being no further business, that will conclude the meeting. 2:15.